Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to BEXEL new webinar. It is my pleasure I'm here with you again. My name is Jelena Petrovic and I am a Senior BIM Manager at BEXEL Consulting. During today's 1-hour session, I will guide you through 4D planning process with the main point on the full potential of 4D BIM. I will explain one general workflow on an example of high-rise project based on IFC which originates from Autodesk Revit authoring tool. Here we see general steps on a high-rise project example related to 4D, 5D BIM planning workflow. It includes the following: creating a federated BIM model in a BEXEL Manager from IFC files, checking BIM model spatial structure distribution, automated data enrichment with classification codes, generating work breakdown structure based on classification code rules, and generating construction work items based on Uniformat work breakdown structure. Loading construction methodology for high-rise buildings, automatical creation of project-specific zone relations, generating construction schedule automatically linked with BIM model elements, initial 4D construction simulation overview, and checking data rich 4D BIM model analysis. At the end, we also have generating color-coded custom breakdowns. Once the schedule is created within BEXEL Manager, this workflow can be extended within our cloud-based solutions, and it includes following steps: creating common data environment project, defining access rights, user roles and permissions, creating common data environment project versions, BEXEL common data environment modules overview, discovering color-coded custom breakdowns, search and filter BIM model elements by sources structure, construction simulation overview, filtering BIM model element attributes, and finally, creating Power BI interactive dashboards and visualizations and overview of BEXEL common data environment visual within the Power BI dashboard. These are just a few of thousands of 4D, 5D construction simulation examples on various project types, all generated using BEXEL Manager workflows. I am coming to the main point of today's session, where I am inviting you to test this workflow we are presenting today. Use your BIM model and check the benefits of generating construction simulation created from the pure IFC-based BIM model using BEXEL Manager. The key benefits are up to 100 times faster initial construction schedule creation and very data-rich 4D BIM model. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us and we will give our best to help you. Before we start with today's topic, let me briefly introduce with our company and do some indispensable marketing segment. BEXEL Consulting is software development and consulting company specialized for BIM in construction. We have almost 2 decades of software development experience, and our consulting services are used on a global level for the last 15 years. Our software solutions are presented at 72 countries worldwide and used for managing more than 6,500 projects. Of course, our main product is BEXEL Manager. More information about us and our ecosystem you can find on our web page, where you can also request a free trial version of the desktop application or trial versions of our cloud-based solutions, which include BEXEL Viewer, BEXEL FM, BEXEL Docs and Portfolio Manager. Don't forget about our Help Center, which represents the collection of best learning materials and explanations for features and tools of BEXEL Manager. For all existing users with BEXEL Manager licenses, there still is BEXEL user area frequently updated and refreshed with the latest demo models, templates, scripts and additional materials available for free download and use. Materials related to today's session will be also available for download. You can send your comments and questions in the chat section of the streaming platform you are using. My colleagues will make sure to answer all your questions by the end of the session. Let's start from the beginning and create Federated BIM model within BEXEL Manager environment. Here we are on the BEXEL Manager main page with no project version opened. We are going to create new project and project version that will federate several IFC files related to our project. Click on the BEXEL icon in the upper left corner and choose New Project command. Add New Project window opens, and here we enter details related to our project. First, we enter the project name. Let's call it Sample Project 2 Towers. Enter the description if it is needed. After that, we should define project version name, and I'm going to name it such as 4D Schedule BIM model. To choose files, click on Choose command and browse location from the local computer. Here I have 19 IFC files, which I'm going to select. Click on the Open command, and we see the numbers of selected IFC files shown here. Click on the OK and wait for a while until the process of federating IFC files is finished. Here we have Federated BIM model opened, BEXEL Sample Project 2 Towers, 1 residential high-rise complex. I can see that elements got colors based on imported IFC files and materials that elements contains, so I am going to change colors of some of these elements, windows and plants, for example. Just select elements here in Building Explorer section. First, I'm going to select Windows and do right-click in 3D viewport. Click on Change Color command and choose Selected Elements option. Pick desired color within Color Palette and click on OK. The elements are colored now as I wanted, and I'm going to do the same for planting. This way I have just changed colors of elements, but there is also an option to map texture to BIM model elements using Texture Editor. Main goal in our use case is to create schedule based on BIM model only using BEXEL Manager engine without any import of Microsoft Project or Primavera schedule, even though it is also possible. For schedule creation, we will need construction methodology, which is based on SUM classification, and we will need work breakdown structure based on the same classification methodology is created. Today we will use classification based on Uniformat. So first we will create work breakdown structure based on Uniformat classification and assign classification items to respective BIM model elements. As our BIM model elements do not contain any Uniformat code or any other classification code that can be used, first step we are going to do is BIM model enrichment with new properties using our data enrichment engine. Go to Add-in section, and by simple click on Data Enrichment command, we are navigated to BEXEL Data Enrichment knowledge base, where we can find several existing templates based on different classification. Let's open one, and I would like to mark here that any of these templates is customizable, so you can edit and improve existing templates to fit better to your specific project and use it for BIM model data enrichment process. Template contains properties that are used as rules, and it has defined BEXEL added group of properties which contain properties name and their values that the BIM model will be enriched with. In our case, we will use template Uniformat Base IFC, which will enrich our BIM model with properties, Uniformat Assembly Code, and Uniformat Assembly Description. Simple click on Open command and data enrichment process is started. Once the BIM model has been enriched with new Uniformat properties, it can be fully utilized for generating work breakdown structure based on Uniformat classification and creating custom breakdowns based on them. For the purpose of creating work breakdown structure, I will quickly create one Quantity Takeoff based on Uniformat Assembly Code property. Go to Quantity Takeoff section and click on New Command. Here we enter the Quantity Takeoff name and choose elements that are going to be used in our Quantity Takeoff. I will select Building, Whole Building, and quick Use Selection command. Our Quantity Takeoff will be based on Property rule, so do right-click and choose Property option. Within the property list, we choose desired property. In our case, it is Uniformat Assembly Code. As I want to create Quantity Takeoff with hierarchy levels, I will repeat action of adding rules one by one. First, we will use one Uniformat Assembly Code string, and it will be like A. On the second level, we add new rule where we choose the property rule also, select the property, and now it will include first three code strings, like A10. On the third level, we will have 5 code strings, so select the rule, property, and enter 5 strings as length. It will be like A1010. Okay, let's add now rule which will include full assembly code value. And on the last level, our Quantity Takeoff will be grouped by family. Do right-click and add rule family. Okay, now we should define quantities. I will add quantity for area, volume, length, and count. Finally, we define on which level our Quantity Takeoff will be color-coded and do color-coded on assembly full code level. Click on Generate to overview how our Quantity Takeoff hierarchy looks like, and with OK command, our Quantity Takeoff is created. It is based on Uniformat Assembly Code property defined with classification hierarchy levels. To overview elements in different colors based on Uniformat Assembly Code property, go to Color Code View and choose Viewer mode for Quantity Takeoffs. Now, elements are colored in different colors depending on property values. We can easily overview elements with enriched properties and navigate our model to desired section. Simple click on desired Quantity Takeoff segment and elements are selected in 3D viewport. Let me check elements with undefined Uniformat Assembly Code. These elements were not enriched with classification codes in previously explained data enrichment process. Okay, here we have surrounding elements. They do not need to have codes, and there are some elements which are segment of floors. I have just realized that these elements will not be included in our schedule animation, and I'm leaving like that. Sometimes these elements which are with undefined values are just meshes or some other elements which are used to support BIM model development. But if it is necessary to include some elements that didn't pass through data enrichment process, we should go back and edit our data enrichment template or add missing properties to certain BIM model elements manually. I will just remove these elements from the created Quantity Takeoff and go further. Now we can create our construction work breakdown structure based on Uniformat classification and assign classification items to respective BIM model elements based on rules of measurements. To create new classification within BEXEL Manager, go to Cost Editor module and click on New Classification command. Here we enter the name of our classification, and I will just call it as Uniformat Work Breakdown Structure. Select the parent task, which appears down here, and click on Creation Wizard and choose option Create from Quantity Takeoff. First, we choose Quantity Takeoff, from which we are going to generate our classification and the one we have previously created. We are using BEXEL Cost Estimate Engine, and some details we are entering here are related to cost items, but even though we will not work with cost information today and cost estimate, we can create and assign classification items to our BIM model elements. Now we choose information related to classification items, defining code and classification item name. The code will be as it is defined within Quantity Takeoff. As you remember, we have extracted the parts of Uniformat code to form our hierarchy within Quantity Takeoff and for BIM model, so we are going to use same code from Quantity Takeoff. For classification item name, we are going to use template from BEXEL knowledge base. Why we are not going to use option from Quantity Takeoff? As we remember, we have codes for every hierarchy level defined within previously created Quantity Takeoff, so if we use them, we will just have repeated codes. So we will use template, and here within the knowledge base we can find several standardized naming templates. In our case, we will use template which is dedicated to Uniformat classification. These templates, which are Excel spreadsheets, can be simply modified, or you can create the new ones that are suited to your specific company-specific or market-specific classification, and it can be used in future for further automation of classification creation. Now we will define information for cost items. In our case, we will actually have work breakdown structure items. So for coding system, we will use schema, which can actually be customized later, and for name, we will use names from Quantity Takeoff, which actually is going to be family name, since we don't have a predefined template for naming based on families used. In case you have it, it can be also used. Now, we have to define rules of measurements. In our case, we will use basic IFC template because our model is IFC based. If we explore the template we are going to use, we can see how rules of measurements are defined. Here we have defined group of elements and quantity formulas, as well as quantity units that are going to be used in a measurement calculation. Let me explain how this works. For example, for each air terminal element category, quantity formula will be number of pieces and quantity units are pieces. On the other side, for beams, for example, quantity formula will be value of property net volume and quantity unit is cubic meter. In the case of floors, in the case when value of load-bearing property is true, the formula will be net volume with cubic meters unit, but if the value of property load-bearing is false, formula will be net area and unit squared meters. As we have already seen with the other templates I have presented today, These templates can be also easily modified for specific project needs. We just do OK, and we got a work breakdown structure classification created that is completely reflecting our work breakdown structure as it is defined in Quantity Takeoff, and it uses Uniformat Assembly Code that is result of previously explained data enrichment process. Here we also have specified rules of measurement, quantity units, quantity type, quantity formula from predefined template. We can expand our work breakdown structure and overview how it looks like. Once we have defined our work breakdown structure based on Uniformat classification, we will assign classification items to respective BIM model elements based on creation rules. Select parent task of our classification and do right-click on it. Click on Auto Assign Cost Items and we will choose option for creating new cost version. Once the process of assignment is finished, the BIM model is ready for further steps of schedule creation. BIM model elements are now connected with respective classification items, and here we can see work items and easily can select elements to check which work items are assigned to which BIM model element. Simple select work item, and with the select element command we can overview elements 3D viewport. Let's create construction schedule using BEXEL Manager engine for its smart creation. I will just briefly explain how process of intelligent scheduling works within BEXEL Manager integrated environment. Generally, it is comprised of two main processes. First one is spatial project organization or spatial work distribution, and the second one is functional or methodological work sequence definition. Spatial project organization means that we always organize our construction works regarding the spatial structure of our building. So if we have multiple buildings, we are going to divide our schedule by buildings. If we have multiple stories on every of these buildings, we are going to define the subtasks for the stories. Also, if we have multiple zones on one story, we are going to define these zones or phases as well. This spatial organization is project specific. On the other side, we have methodological work sequence definition. Here we define functional groups of works and their relations. Once the methodology is created, it can be used in the future for the same or similar project type, with small or without any modifications. The main goal is to automate process of schedule creating using project-specific zones on one side and the methodology on the other side. Combining them in BEXEL Manager, the schedule will be automatically created. More information about creating schedule, zones and methodologies you can find in some of our previous sessions where my colleagues Millet and Alexander explained these processes in details. In our today's use case, we will load construction methodology previously created, which is related to high-rise project type. Of course, it can be edited after loading and saved as new methodology and used in the future for some other projects. To load methodology, go to BEXEL icon in the upper left corner and choose Exchange command. Click on Import and browse the file location on the local computer. Click the Open command, check section for Import. We will check Methodologies and click OK. Construction methodology is loaded into our project version. Go to Methodology Editor where it can be analyzed and edited if it is needed. we can overview methodology I have just loaded, and here we see how construction sequences are organized and which work breakdown items based on Uniformat classifications are connected to each methodology node. On the other side, as the zones are project specific, I will create only one zone which is related to building stories. Go to Zone Editor section and click on New Zone command. Here we define zone name, and as we will divide our schedule by building levels, I will just call it such as building levels. You can create more zones related to, for example, project phases, which is also project specific, and use them later during creating schedule template process. Select Building Levels node and mark that zone items are constructive by checking the box here. Do right-click and within New Item segment choose Linked option. Here we defined reference objects. In our case, we will use building stories, but building zones can be created based on specific project information, and for example, you can create selection sets related to project phases or use buildings, and in our case, we will just use building stories option and mark all building stories we want to include in our zone. With Shift keyboard button, I will select all desired stories, and simple space click on the keyboard checks all previously selected stories. If we want to automatically create relations, we also check Create Relations option and click on OK. Our zone has just been created, and we can check relations between zone items. They are defined as finish start by default, but of course it can be changed if it is needed. There is one more step to do before we generate our construction schedule. It is Creation Template. By click on Creation Template command, new window opens where we can create new template, but click on New command. Here we define rules how our schedule will be created. First, enter the template name, and after that we simply add rules by click on New Rule command and choose Dynamic option. On the first level, we choose Methodology Levels. Here we select first methodology level and click OK. After that, we will add rule related to zones we have previously created, where our schedule will be divided by building levels. Choose zone items and select it. Click OK, and our creation template is ready. So, what we will have? Schedule will be created in a way we have methodology first level, where each methodology item will be subdivided to zone items, in our case to building levels or stories. Let's generate our construction schedule. Click on New Schedule command and enter the name. Let's call it just Construction Schedule Uniformat First Level. We choose cost version. Actually, it is our assigned work breakdown structure based on Uniformat classification. Click OK and go to Schedule Editor section. Select Created Task and go to Creation Wizard. Here we choose to create our schedule from previously created template. Click Load and OK. And here we go. Our schedule is created automatically. It completely reflects previously defined rules. Let's pop out window to see better what we have got. Here we see our schedule which is divided on tasks and subtasks related to our loaded methodology and zones defined. As our BIM model elements are automatically connected with the created schedule, we can simply select Schedule Task and navigate our model to certain element position which are related to previously selected task. This way, We can easily overview which BIM model elements are, let me say, in automated way linked to created schedule. Of course, I can activate color-coded view and see elements colored in different colors based on Uniformat classification code. There is never enough time to talk about all existing options within BEXEL Manager, so for now, let's immediately overview our construction 4D simulation. Go to Schedule Animation module, and before I update animation, just to be sure that all elements are shown, do right-click in the main viewport and click on Show All Elements command. Update the animation here, and do not forget to change the view. I usually forget about this action, so change to Schedule View, and now just click on Play and our 4D schedule animation is started. I am wondering if everything works fine. We will see now. Here I can see some elements appears on upper floors. Okay, this should be checked later. Maybe some fine-tuning is necessary. Also, methodology I have used is defined with lag because this is high-res object. There are also methodologies available in our sample project that can be used when you test this approach on your project. It looks fine. I mean, we used only first methodology level and only one zone which was based on levels. And it is good enough as final result we have here. And it is not just because I've created this and demonstrated to you. We will see your feedback when you test this approach on your own project. Let me overview activities within Schedule Task Report. We select parent task to see results for whole activities our schedule includes. Click on Task Report, and within Activities section we can see quantities for each month. Here I have filtered activities by unit, so we see only activities which have cubic meters as unit. First 3 months are, let me say, critical, so let's simply modify our schedule and change duration of some scheduled task. I'm going to focus on activities we see here, like with code A10-10-100 reinforced concrete slab and B10-10-400 concrete slab as well. Before I do any schedule changings, I'm going to duplicate this one we have previously created, and all changings I do will be included within it. So we will have two animations. One is related to first schedule we have created, another one will be with this fine-tuned schedule. I can filter desired code in our schedule, but I see here it is, and I'm going to change manually duration of this scheduled task directly in schedule. To find other task, let me pop out window and find it. It is one related to foundation as well. So select task within the schedule, and down here we can also change task duration. Let's change duration to 30 days. Click Enter and Apply command. The schedule is automatically changed. And let's overview what we have got within Task Report. It looks better now. We do not have that big peak in the first 3 months. Of course, most of the works are expected in first project period because of works related to underground or basement part of the building. If we have had basement divided in phases, organized in one more zone used in our schedule creation, that would be perfect. But for today's general workflow, I will leave just like it is right now. We can also overview line of balance by simple click here, and this was one simple example of fine-tuning of our schedule. Of course, there are explanations how we can edit schedule in our previous sessions, and it will be the subject of some of our next webinars as well. We can simply update our animation and overview how it looks like with our edited schedule, which is currently active here in Schedule Editor. Go to Schedule Animation module and click on Update Animation when our new 4D schedule animation is ready immediately. I would like to share with you some information. We should pay attention here. What can be problem? Sometimes BIM model doesn't have elements distributed in the right levels, or there are not defined construction phases or buildings if model includes several buildings. Some of task duration should be longer than here defined. Maybe the activities are related to prefabricated elements, but duration is defined for cast-in-place activity. Then also, our model is federated from IFC files exported from Revit authoring tool, so the export settings should be properly defined, or if the export of IFC files is coming from other tools, the properties should be also checked, and we should pay attention that templates are suitable for these models as well. All this will be addressed on some of our next webinars. Okay, before we go further and publish our BIM model with the created animation to the cloud, let me quickly create several custom breakdowns here in our desktop application. We will also publish them to the cloud, and will be able to color our model based on defined custom breakdowns rules. Click on Custom Breakdown section. To create new one, choose New command, where we enter the name of custom breakdown we are creating. The first rule I'm going to use here will be by category. So just enter the name category. After that, we choose selection of elements, and I will include all elements by checking building number 1 option. With a right click, we add rules how our custom breakdown will be divided. Do right click and choose category rule. To color code our new custom breakdown, click on Set Color Coding Rule command. With Generate command, we can see how our system will colorize different property values. Click OK, and our new custom breakdown is created. To see our BIM model colored in different colors based on category property, choose Perspective Color Coded View and click on Custom Breakdown Viewer Mode. I will repeat this section to create several more custom breakdowns. This one will be based on stories, so choose Rule, Building, Stories, and color code our custom breakdown, and after that click OK. The next one will be based on property, as this BIM model comes from Revit and it was modeled using work sets. I will create one based on work set so we can easy overview which elements are structural and which are not. Our custom breakdown will be based on property named work set, so we choose property option. Now we should select property. I will filter by typing property name and choose work set. Our custom breakdown will be divided on 2 levels. How this works? It is pretty similar with the quantity takeoff we have in our BIM model. Select the property and we mark to define substring, and I want to use only first 2 string of property name. Start position is first string and length include 2. Click OK. Now we will add one more rule, the whole work set name. Choose property rule, find work set property within listed properties and click OK. With the Generate option, we can see how our custom breakdown is divided. We will also do color coding on the second rule and click OK. Let's create one more custom breakdown, which is based on Uniformat Assembly Code property. We enter the name, select elements. For rule, we choose again property, find our property Uniformat Assembly Code, and we stop here. I want to divide our custom breakdown to be structured on the first level to have one code string like A, and on the second level to have 3 code strings like A10. Now we define here substrings for the first dividing level. First we have length, which will include 1 string, and we repeat all these by adding new rule where we will define to use length of 3 strings, calculating from the first one. On the last level we will just add the whole code property value, and here we go. Color code our custom breakdown on second level of a breakdown structure and click OK, and we have created our custom breakdown. Now we can easily inspect our BIM model, the element properties and model structure as well. Let's publish our project version to the cloud. Go to BEXEL Common Data Environment tab and click on New Version command. The publishing wizard opens where we follow the steps for publishing our project version to the cloud. During last webinar session, I have explained in details how we manage projects, project versions, roles and permissions within our common data environment. Here first we choose project where our new project version will be published and find it without drop-down list. Now we should define project version name. I will leave just like it is model version within our desktop application. Click on Next command, and here we define publishing options. I will publish all elements our project includes. Now we should define how our project will be divided. There are 3 options: divide by source, by category and by selection set. I will divide our model by category. Go to Next command, and here we choose which selection sets will be published. I have selection sets automatically generated during federating BIM models and data enrichment processes. Let's mark both of them. Now we should define custom breakdowns that will be published to the cloud with our project version. Here we see all 4 custom breakdowns we have previously created and mark all of them. Finally, we select schedule for animation that will be also available within our online project version. Click on Finish and wait for a while until the process of project version publishing is finished. Once the process of publishing is finished, we go to BEXEL Common Data Environment, and within listed projects we find our sample project 2 towers. Within project version list we find project version we have just published and open it. Or we can just click on link which is received as an email notification that new project version is published. Also, all project participants which are involved in this project with certain access rights will be also notified by email. Now, the project version can be explored within BEXEL Online Viewer, including previously created 4D schedule animation. Once we have the project version opened, the following segments within our common data environment are available. First, we have BEXEL Viewer, where we can explore our BIM model and its properties. We have Custom Breakdowns module, which is automatically exported from previously explained publishing process. Here we set how our model elements will be colorized depending on rules defined during custom breakdown creation. Of course, we have segment with reports as well. BEXEL Docs is also available, as well as BEXEL FM and Portfolio Manager if there are access rights and permits satisfied for your account. Here we can see that on this project I do not have access rights for of FM module and Portfolio Manager, so I can't use them. As our main goal is to improve our product as much as possible and satisfy customers' needs, we have, beside other new features, two main features within BEXEL Viewer which I'm going to mark here today. We have new segment with sources, where we can see sources structured as we defined within publishing process. Here we load desired sources, so if our BIM model is divided by specific selection set structure, it will be represented here and available for simple loading of sources based on any selection set breakdown structure we have defined within BEXEL Manager publishing process. Finally, we have Schedule Animation module, where we can overview our 4D schedule animation we have just previously created within our desktop application. First, we choose desired schedule. Here we have two schedules we were generated earlier, and just pick one of them, and with simple click on play command, our animation is started immediately. What this means? Everyone with certain access rights can access this animation and easily overview it, whether it is a project manager or manager at construction site. We can simply stop animation or pause it. We can easily rotate our BIM model within a viewer and see what is going on from all sides of BIM model, or navigate our BIM model to specific BIM model element and inspect its properties. As you remember, during today's session we haven't worked with costs, but here we also have cost information, and of course there will be more improvements of our schedule animation model, so follow us and stay informed about our future features improvements. Let me overview what would be status of construction works on one specific day. Using timeline slider, we can navigate our 4D schedule animation to desired date. Okay, here we see which elements should be finished until picked date. Also, just to remind you about Inspect Properties option, where we can filter and overview selected element properties values and select elements based on them. Here I have just filtered Uniformat Assembly Code property values, which are related to selected elements, and as we remember, these properties are result of data enrichment process we have presented at the beginning of today's workflow presentation. Let me show you something else, what is also possible to do. I'm going to unload all sources and load only doors and windows. We set custom breakdown color schema first, and earlier it was by Uniformat Assembly Code. Let's change it to be by building stories. Now, when we play animation, it will present only windows and doors, because only these sources are loaded. This is really useful, especially if our model is divided specifically by subcontractor, for example, so we can see animation related to them depending how much sources we have loaded. It can also be divided by stories, so we can see construction simulation only for one story if it is needed. Let's go further and see our customized Power BI dashboard. As the basis, we will use cash flow analysis template. Now I'm just going to export data related to this template. We will not have cost data, but this template was a good choice in a way it includes all information about schedules our BIM model includes. To export data, we go to Manage section, and within Power BI Publish Reports with Online Viewer, we choose Cash Flow option and select to export just the data. Here we follow all steps related to data we want to export. First, we select project and project version. I will include all elements, but also there are options to filter elements by selection or just visible elements. Click on Next command, and here we select Schedule tasks for export. Click on Next and choose which custom breakdown will be included in our Power BI report, and I'm leaving all we have here. Click on Finish and wait for a while until process of publishing data for our Power BI report is finished. When the data publishing process is finished, I refresh the data within Power BI desktop application, and here we see how our Power BI template looks like when it is published to Power BI web application. So, what we have here and what I have modified compared to initial template. First, I removed from all visuals information related to cost. But I have included information related to schedule activities, including activity name, their quantities, quantity units, and quantity type. I have also added one filter related to quantity units, so we can easily filter all elements which are calculated in different units. During last webinar session, my colleague Alexander explained in details how we can customize our existing templates. I would like to mark here that with the data export from BEXEL Manager application, we export huge amount of data depending on template to template, and this data can be combined within Power BI template to achieve really useful executive information that can help in all project aspects. Now, if I filter activities related to cubic meters, we will see all scheduled tasks and activities that are calculated in this quantity unit, and have quick overview of quantities related to specific scheduled task. This interactive Power BI dashboard contains new BEXEL viewer visual where schedule animation is included. Schedule is selected, and let's go to focus mode of BEXEL Power BI visual. Here we see that there are segments which are completely the same as they are within BEXEL Common Data environment. With simple click on play, our construction simulation started. So, here we can overview construction works using timeline. If we go back to Power BI report, we can continue with our animation. Now, I'm going to stop animation and change color schema. Previous one, which was used, colored our elements by building story. Now I'm going to change it so elements within our animation will be colorized by element category. So slabs are yellow now and walls are colored in green. Let's change our colored schema again, so elements will be colorized by Uniformat Assembly Code. So here we have the data exported with custom breakdown we have created within our desktop application, which were based on specific rules. This way, we can create custom breakdowns by subcontractors' property, for example, and we can simply overview our construction simulation in different colors related to each subcontractor. Using timeline, we can navigate our construction simulation to desired date and overview works that should be completed until the selected day. With click on some of the activities within our chart here, we will be navigated in a viewer which elements are related to selected activity. Also, within BEXEL Power BI Visual, we can explore our BIM model and inspect its properties values. Here we can select bearing walls and simply overview them within our viewer. All activities related to selected scheduled task are listed in the table where we can simply select desired activity. Furthermore, I'm going to mark elements related to specific floor, and here we see all tasks related to selected floor are listed. But not just one floor, we can select more than one as well and overview all related information to scheduled tasks, including task start date, finish date, and quantities. To close our today's session, let me play our construction simulation once again. This was all from my side for today. Thank you all for your attention, and once again I am inviting you to test this workflow on some of your own projects so you can very quickly create attractive, data-rich and detailed construction simulations. For any question related to this workflow, do not hesitate to contact us. We are more than welcome to help you. Finally, I want to invite you to join our next webinar on 3rd of August, where we will explain more in details advanced 4D, 5D planning with a focus on schedule and resources fine-tuning, adding cost data layer and additional very useful automated processes in BEXEL Manager. On the upcoming webinar, we will also share with you a 4D, 5D planning booklet with insightful information and practice steps of workflow shown today. So stay tuned and save your time for our next webinar, regularly on the last Wednesday of the month. I wish you all to enjoy the summer and have a nice the rest of the day.